Live from historic Leimert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me. Back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, of course, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavissmileyshow.com. That's thetavissmileyshow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, author and activist Kevin Sherd joins us in studio to talk about his new text, A Life for a Life. Poor choices and unresolved trauma is killing America. Here's the story. Kevin Sherd and Damian Neal meet as prison inmates. Kevin, serving time for drug trafficking, suffers from severe nightmares and sleep deprivation due to past trauma, but he copes with the trauma through rigorous exercise instead of medication. Damian, a younger man, is also suffering from trauma, but Kevin tries to protect and shield him from a dangerous environment in hopes that Damian will one day reunite with his brother. Eventually, both men are released, Damian first, and they both return home to Baltimore. One afternoon, Kevin goes online in search of Damian, hoping that Damian has successfully reintegrated into society and reunited with his family. Kevin finds Damian online, but the newspaper headline reads, Delaware State Police arrest Damian Neal, the man responsible for the deaths of 2 Dover residents over the weekend. Court documents go on to reveal that Damian was suffering from a serious mental disorder at the time he committed those murders. Kevin is, of course, gobsmacked and goes on a journey of discovery about Damian. You will hear Kevin Sherd in his own words in hour 2. In our third hour.
Good afternoon. Or is it still morning there? We're 3 hours different. Anyways, my name is Aretha Thomas, and I have followed the case of George Fatheree helping the Bruce family retrieve their land. My mom, she left inheritance for all of us. But the land was stolen by oil companies. The land has oil and gas on it. I recently have learned that the papers where 2 of the people did not sell their land, the other people were tricked out of the land. Anyways, to make a long story short, at 70 years old, I'd like to retrieve that land for future generations. And I'm just wondering if Mr. Fatheree works out of Texas, where he's only working in California. This is like a desperate plea for help. My understanding is it's 352 acres of land, oil and gas. If you can help me, please call me back. If not, then I'll continue to look for someone that can assist me. You have a blessed night, and I thank you for helping the Bruces retrieve their land. It was well deserved. Thank you.
Noted attorney and social impact entrepreneur George Fatheree III, the man who represented the family in the historic Bruce's Beach saga, talks about the work of the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project and how Black families can protect themselves from land dispossession. It's the Black Land Lost Narrative Archive Project. We'll talk about it for the hour in our final hour today with George Fatheree III, the man who got the land back for the Bruce's Beach family. In this first hour today, 2 more conversations on the B side of this hour. We will speak with Chicago Sun-Times Washington Bureau Chief Lynn Sweet about the progressive pushback against longtime Illinois Senator Dick Durbin. It ain't just Chuck Schumer. His number 2 is also catching hell. We will also talk to Lynn Sweet about the tumultuous times of Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson. Not too long ago, the nation's 4 largest cities all had black mayors. Eric Adams in New York City, Karen Bass here in Los Angeles, Sylvester Turner in Houston, and Brandon Johnson in Chicago. Sylvester Turner, termed out as Houston mayor, ran successfully, as you know, to replace the late Sheila Jackson Lee in Congress, and then tragically passed away himself just weeks later on the night of Donald Trump's recent address to a joint session of Congress, no less. To say the remaining 3 big city black mayors are all having a rough go of it would be the mother of all understatements. Johnson's poll numbers are underwater in Chicago. Bass is facing a recall here in L.A., and Adams is badly trailing former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo in his bid for re-election. What a difference a few months makes. And so we will talk to Lynn Sweet on the backside of this hour. And speaking of the Big Apple, the mayor of Gotham, Eric Adams, joins us next when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From Leimert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
People just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first, before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe you got us tickets.
Me too. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
Before the fire, Altadena was a real-life Wakanda. A thriving black oasis just 15 miles from downtown Los Angeles. 80% black residents were homeowners, building intergenerational wealth against the odds. It was a hub of black-owned businesses, churches, and cultural institutions. It stood as a symbol of black resilience and economic independence. Then, in a matter of hours, it was gone. The fire tore through homes, swallowed businesses, and left behind a painful void. But was it just an unstoppable act of nature, or was negligence involved? Did officials ignore early warning signs? Were the response efforts delayed or insufficient? What role, if any, did corporate or government failures play? Survivors are demanding answers. Don't miss our KBLA Talk 1580 Town Hall. The Eden Altadena Fire, 100 days and counting. On Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center, 1081 North Fair Oaks in Pasadena. Join Dominic DePrima, Nee Cordelai Corte, James Farr, Tavis Smiley, and a panel of survivors, community leaders, and experts as we commemorate Day 100 since the wildfires flared up. And we discuss where we go from here. It's KBLA's Eden Altadena Fire, 100 Days and Counting Town Hall. Wednesday, April 16th, 4 to 6 p.m. at the Robinson Park Recreation Center in Pasadena. Light refreshments to follow. Admission is free, but sign-up is required at our KBLA1580.com website. This is a community call to action brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and Quinn Emanuel Trial Lawyers. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. We lead off today's program with the mayor of Gotham, who's on the line. Mayor Eric Adams, my friend. How are you, sir?
Quite well. Really, really good speaking with you, and I think history is going to be kind with you. Before all this podcast, all these conversations, it was Tavis Smiley. You were really pushing the envelope, and it's good to just continually hear your voice out there. and I was looking forward to this conversation with you.
I'm glad to have you on. I've known you for a long time, and so this is one of a series of conversations we've had, of course, publicly and privately over the years, so I'm honored to have you on this program. Obviously, there's some questions I want to ask you as the mayor of New York City, and there's some campaign questions, of course, I want to ask you. Let me just start with this, and this will set you up, I think, to make the case that you want to make, and I want to give you time to do that. So your opponents, and there are many, we'll get to that later in this conversation, your opponents are suggesting that New York City is in the worst shape it has ever been. To that, you say what, Mayor Adams?
The numbers must match the noise. And, many people have been sitting on the sideline watching in amazement how we turned around this city with diversity. This is one of the most diverse administrations in the history of the city. First time you had 5 deputy mayors that were women. First time you saw a woman police commissioner, a woman in charge of fire department, a first Latino to head the Department of Correction, first Korean to head small business services. I could go through the list of our different representations. But look at what I inherited. I inherited a city where jobs were moving in the wrong direction. Black unemployment was 4 times the rate of white. Our children were not learning at the capacity they deserved. We were not investing in foster care children. Crime was through the roof. It was surging. 2.5 years later, now 3.5 years in, more jobs in this city, in the city's history. Cut black unemployment, Hispanic unemployment by 20% in all demographics. Independent bond raters increased our bond raters and continue to show support. Managed 230,000 migrants and asylum seekers. Not one child or family slept on the street. Invested in our foster care children, paying their college tuition, free high-speed broadband for NYCHA residents so they can do remote learning and telemedicine. When you look at the turnaround, 20,800 guns removed off our streets, dropped in crime, subway crime is down. All of the indicators that state a stabilized and well-run city are evident every day. So all that noise, does not match the numbers.
New York obviously is one of, if not the most multicultural, multi-ethnic, multicultural cities in the world. I hear you making the case about the diversity. I'm wondering whether or not you're suggesting that you have gotten or are getting some of this pushback because you were so diverse in your appointments.
Well, listen, when you do an analysis of where my votes came from, they did not come from the elite. They came from people who live on the street and who walk the streets every day. And so if you look, I was not the chosen one. I didn't fit the pedigree. I didn't fit who other people thought should be the mayor. They didn't think that we could turn around the city. And we did just the opposite. And so a lot of the pushback started January 1st, 2022. We've never received the acknowledgement of what we did because we don't control these stories. Let's be clear. If it bleeds, it leads. And I am a good way to get as many clicks as possible. But do an analysis of what we did in the city, and it's very clear. We put this city on the right trajectory, and we're going to continue to do that. You
mentioned that you were not the chosen one. You were not the choice of the elites. Tell me more about your base then, and tell me who you think your base is this time around in this reelection effort.
Well, our administration, particularly the last 15 months, and Tavis, let me tell you something, the last 15 months, it has been the most difficult 15 months of my entire life.
Sure.
My entire life. And what has happened to my family, what has happened to those who are in my circle, we had to keep moving ahead. And my North Star was working class people. I woke up every day and said, despite what you're going through personally, you have an obligation that you have to fulfill to the people of the city. And those are working class people. Working class people elected me, the outer borough population, not the traditional elite part of this city, but working class people that knew they were being betrayed by the city for so many years. That's why we did dyslexia screening. So 30% of the inmates at Rikers Island are dyslexic, that they don't have to have that pathway. That's why we invested in public housing, finally placing public housing in our housing plan. So these were everyday working class people. Now I have to spend the next few months of re-engaging with those working class people and say, this is why you elected me in the first place, and this is how I delivered for you. And that is going to always be my constituency, everyday, hardworking, blue-collar, working class people.
So I've known you for a long time. As I said earlier, the polls that I'm looking at every day in New York City show that you are running from behind right now. How do you feel about running from behind? Is that where you want to be? Would you rather be out front?
Everyone would love to be out front, but we know polls don't decide mayors. Remember back in 2021 when I ran, Andrew Yang was beating me by double digits.
Mm-hmm.
He was basically measuring the curtains. I had a field of candidates that were extremely, really very progressive and impactful and had great resumes. Ray McGuire was an excellent candidate, a top financier. You had Maya Wiley. You had Sean Donovan, a former head secretary, extremely credentialed.
Mm-hmm.
So we had a whole slew of people that were in the race. But my ability to connect to everyday working class people is going to get me over the top. The goal was to get this case behind me so I can not have this cloud over the administration and let people see the work that I'm doing. And that's what we are right now. The Department of Justice made the decision that this case should be put in abeyance, should be dismissed. And now we're waiting in deference to the judge to make the final determination.
I'll come back to that case in just a second, I promise you. The reason why I asked you about whether or not you like running from behind, I heard the joke. Everybody wants to be out front. But to your point about Andrew Yang, you were running behind him, and you still came back and you won. So, these polls adjust and shift every single day, as you well know. What I am concerned about, though, is your money. Again, I'm following this race very closely. I'm looking at your fundraising. It has dipped dramatically. New York City, it takes money to be elected. It takes money for advertisements. Talk to me about the money, Mayor Adams.
And I love that because whenever you talk about the money, people say the money don't matter. People are catching up to me. I was already maxed out, Tavis, and all the money I needed to run in the Democratic primary. I raised all the money. I was done. I was finished. The campaign finance board made the determination because of the charges against me to take away my matching funds, and we're going to fight to get those dollars back. But think about this for a moment. What do you use money for? Mm-hmm. When you are unknown, you need to use the money to get your message out. The money is used, the bulk of your money in the campaign, that money goes to your advertisement, your TV buy hours, your buy time. I still have $3 million on hand. I don't have to push as other candidates who are trying to be known. I'm already known in the city. All I have to do is reinforce the good work that we're doing. So we're going to continue to raise the money. We're going to continue to fight to get our matching fund dollars back, but I have the capacity to raise the money that's needed, and that's what we're going to do.
So how do you read these media stories in New York that suggest that your fundraising has plummeted in the last 2 months to like 19,000, but you're telling us you're sitting on $3 million? That's not the story they're pushing out. How do you read that?
Well, I tell New Yorkers to go back to January 1st, 2021, and just do a soft analysis and start flipping through the papers and say, wait a minute, why I'm not reading about Eric has built more affordable housing in year one and year two in the history of the city? Why I'm not reading about we have more jobs in the history of the city? Why I'm not reading about how crime has decreased in the city and 80,000 illegal vehicles are off our roads? Why I'm not reading all this stuff? Because that's not the narrative that they want to push. They're going to push a narrative that they have been pushing for the last 3 years and 3 months. Anything that's negative, we're going to make sure it's put out there. Anything that this mayor has accomplished in turning around the city, you're not going to see it in your tabloids. So I must get that message out there and show New Yorkers what we have done, and that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
As you know, I earlier in my career worked for a mayor, Tom Bradley, the first black mayor of this city, one of the proudest moments of my career working for Mayor Bradley, so I know something of how this works. And I've never interviewed or met a politician in my life who loves the press. I get that. Nobody loves the press. But I am curious as to how you would frame the relationship that you've had with the press in New York City.
Well, I think that when I won, this is a city, and this is a whole show you can do on the media across the press across the country. When you look at cities where you have mayors of color, we talk about this in the African American Mayors Association called AMA. Mm-hmm. When you don't fairly cover a city, no one wants, as you stated with your former mayor that you work for, everybody's going to complain about, how they're covered and the good stuff they do. Sure. That comes with the territory.
Yep.
But when you sit back and you watch the total distortion of the success of an administration, no one could deny the fact that we turned around the city financially because the bond rate is ascending. No one could deny the fact that we took 230,000 migrants and asylum seekers and not one child or family slept on the street because the numbers are there. No one could deny the fact that we outpaced the state in reading and math in this city. So when you look at the numbers of more jobs in the history of the city, more small businesses operate in the history of the city, double-digit decrease in shootings and homicides, people back on our subway system, 4.6 million riders with an average of only 6 felonies a day on our system. When you look at that and then you read the headlines, you would think that, wait a minute, the city's out of control. That's not the reality. We have the 4th largest tourism in the history of New York City because people are coming here. You can't even get restaurant reservations in the city because of all the restaurants and nightlife are back up and vibrant in the city. But that's not what you believe when you walk away from reading the headlines in the city. So all I can do is say, I rest my case. Mm-hmm. The stories need to match the reality.
Yep. Before you rest your case, a couple more questions, though, Mayor Adams. You may be rested. I'm not rested yet. I got a couple more questions I want to ask. And I want to follow you. I want to follow you because you went there first. And the one thing about you that I've always respected is your transparency. I mean, you've never told me what I can or cannot ask. And frankly, you opened the door to this, so you put it out there first. I just want to follow you. You mentioned earlier that the last 15 months have been the roughest 15 months of your entire life. I can certainly understand that. How do you respond to folk who say you brought this on yourself by breaking the law, by misbehavior? And how do you respond to people who just are just over the fact that Trump comes to your rescue? I'll leave it there. Take it any way you want to take it.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And he's right. And you know what? My life is an open book. And I tell anyone that interviews me, listen, you could ask me what you want because I'm not ashamed of the success and I'm not ashamed of whatever failures I may have had in life. But let's look at the basics of this case. And I can't go into depth of it because it's still in the hands of the judge. But I'm being accused, Tavis, of calling the fire department and asking them to do an inspection, not to pass an inspection, but to do an inspection to open a building. That's the job of an elected official. And whomever is in office and tell me they have not done that, then they're lying. And then to add to that, to put together that, well, we're going to use upgrades as some form of bribery, people need to do something that many people don't do. Read the indictment. Very well-known legal experts have read the indictment and said, this just doesn't make any sense. A sitting mayor of the largest city in the country is being charged with these charges, something that elected officials do every day. So I know people walked away when they saw the headline that, oh, my God, here he did something corrupt, another corrupt elected official. Read the indictment. They should start in that place. I did nothing wrong. We were pursuing justice. And people who state that anyone that comes to show that you were accused of something that you didn't do, if they want to point to and say that person should not do it, God uses who he uses. That's the bottom line. And you don't question who God uses when he uses that person, particularly if you're a person of faith like I am.
Mm-hmm. And to the Trump issue, we've seen all these resignations in New York. We've been following this story every single day, and it's not pretty, as you well know. But how do you respond to people who say that this Trump story and its involvement in your case is just doesn't pass the smell test?
Okay, tell me something, and let's be honest in this conversation. Is Trump derangement syndrome real? Are there those who hate the president so much that no matter what happens, burning Teslas, tearing up their degrees from institution, no matter what he says or does, people are just angry at the level not to acknowledge the fact that we have a democratic process in this country, that whoever gets the most electoral college votes is the person that's the president of the United States. And in addition to that, not only did he get the most electoral college votes, he received the most popular votes. So it's not about if the person you want wins, that all of a sudden you follow democracy. No, that's not the way it is. And we don't have a one unified belief on everything we do in this country. So for people to say that there was some quid pro quo when I stood up in federal court and raised my right hand and under oath stated that it wasn't, people who know you, and people who want to use this as an excuse are going to try to exploit it. There was no quid pro quo. I should have never been charged. I did nothing wrong. These was bogus charges. Some of the text messages that was revealed showed that this was alluded to, this being politically motivated. It was wrong, and it was unjust. And I spent my life fighting for criminal justice reform. When I visited inmates up in the northern part of our state, fighting for them. When I fought for women who were pregnant and handcuffed to gurneys, I fought for them. I testified in federal court under the stop and frisk regiment when I was with 100 Blacks in law enforcement. This is what I always fought for everyone in the criminal justice arena. Why won't I fight for it for myself?
Mayor Eric Adams, in his own words, there you have it. Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. We'll do it again. I hope somewhere down the road. I'm watching the campaign. Stay strong now.
Thank you. Take care.
All right, Mayor. Mayor Eric Adams on Tavis Smiley. Let's get this party, let's continue this, I should say. It's already started. He set it off. We'll continue Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump commuted the sentence of Black Aussie Media founder Carlos Watson, who was convicted of defrauding investors. Watson was set to serve nearly a decade in prison. The White House has declined to comment. Protesters held over 200 demonstrations at Tesla dealerships, accusing CEO Elon Musk of funding political actions they see as threats to democracy. They urge people not to buy Teslas. Egg prices are dropping as chicken flocks recover from the bird flu. The average price of a dozen eggs fell to $3 last week, down from $8.15 in February after the U.S. lost over 12% of egg-laying hens earlier this year. And for the second time in NCAA tournament history, all 4 number 1 seeds are advancing to the college basketball playoffs. Houston will face Duke and Auburn will play Florida, with the winners competing for the national championship on April 7th. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Since the dawn of baseball, countless players have heard the call of destiny. Witness the heroes of the game in ballparks nationwide. Get your tickets today at MLB.com/tickets. Major League Baseball trademarks used with permission.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Congratulations to the UCLA women's basketball team. They are going to the Final Four for the first time in their 41-year history as an NCAA program. UCLA held off LSU for a 72-65 victory in the Regional 1 final. 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals for junior guard Gabriela Jaquez. She scored 7 points in the final 2 minutes, including a clutch 3-pointer with a minute 30 left. Center Lauren Betts had 17 points and 6 block shots. The Bruins are 34-2. Their only 2 losses this season came to USC. UCLA and USC will meet for a 4th time this season in the Final Four if the Trojans can beat Connecticut tonight in the Regional 4 final. UCLA would meet the USC-UConn winner on Friday in Tampa. South Carolina, the defending national champions, will play the winner of tonight's Texas Christian Regional 3 title game in the other Final Four matchup. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580 is pleased to announce that, like George and Weezy,
we're moving on now.
Earlier this year, we were named as semi-finalists for the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025. Wait for it. You ready? KBLA Talk 1580 was recently selected as one of 10 finalists being considered for this prestigious award. Hundreds of organizations, institutions, and even cities were nominated in the selection process. But KBLA Talk 1580 has made it to the finals. You're invited to watch live on Wednesday, April 16th. At 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, as Eco America announces the winner and the runner-up, awarding over $200,000 in prize money. To watch live, just go to ecoamerica.org to register and attend the online ceremony. That's ecoamerica.org. Don't miss the presentation of the American Climate Leadership Awards 2025, Wednesday, April 16th, and wish us luck. Caring about the climate, caring about the community, changing the conversation. We're KBLA Talk 1580, and we've got your black.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
And Tavis Smiley sees all your comments all over YouTube about the conversation we just had with Mayor Eric Adams in New York. Morris says, don't blame the players. Look at the game. Don't blame the players. Look at the game. Fahima says, I knew Eric Adams when he co-founded 100 Blacks in Law Enforcement. This was prior to him becoming Brooklyn Borough President. I don't know who Mayor Eric Adams is today. So these comments are all over the place about that conversation, which is what you expect. This ain't my first rodeo. And so you see these comments behind conversations like that, and you expect them to express a variety of opinion. But I'm grateful to Mayor Adams for coming on to at least make his case. We've invited Andrew Cuomo on as well. I've interviewed Andrew many times over the course of my career, so hopefully he'll be here in the coming days. But that's going to be an interesting race. Already is in New York City. Andrew Cuomo out front right now. Mayor Adams in third or fourth place, depending on what poll you look at. It is true that his fundraising is down, but he does have a base. And so I've seen these things ebb and flow over the course of my career watching campaigns. We will see what happens and look forward to perhaps talking to Mayor Adams again and certainly talking to Andrew Cuomo when we can get that scheduled. But thank you for your comments about the Eric Adams conversation. Now, as promised, a dialogue with Lynn Sweet. I thank Lynn for her patience. Chicago Sun-Times Washington Bureau Chief. Lynn, good to have you on. How are you today?
I'm getting along. How are you, and how's everybody out there?
We're doing well. We're doing well. If I complain personally, I'd be an ingrate, so I'm doing okay, and I'm delighted to be in conversation with you. Let me just jump right in. I set this up moments ago before we talked to Mayor Adams. We've been talking about Chuck Schumer and all the hell he's catching, and I think legitimately that's just my own personal point of view for what he did. But it's not just Chuck Schumer these days. It is Dick Durbin, the longtime senator from Illinois, Chuck Schumer's number 2. Talk to me about the progressive pushback against Dick Durbin now.
So, first of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate this opportunity, and it's with gratitude. So, I disagree with your conclusion that Schumer and Durbin did the wrong vote in preventing a government shutdown. So, just so the listeners know, this is what fueled a very small group of people to call for Durbin to not run again. So the context is that Durbin, who's 80, is in the midst of deciding whether or not he will seek another term. 2 years running, left to his term, that's 82, then 4 years. So there's just a lot of pent-up demand within Illinois to see if there's an open seat. And so I just counsel everyone to separate the urge for the people out there who just want change, and please don't hinge it on this one last vote in a career where most of the time Durbin has been exactly where the leftist center Democratic Party wants to be. So he is not going to be driven out because a very small number of people put out press releases and have a small demonstration.
Yep. So I hear your point. Let me push back on you respectfully,
okay.
Liz. So
I'm ready.
Let's have some fun here. So I agree with your point that it's not either or, it's both and. I recognize that his age may be a factor, but you will also acknowledge that Nancy Pelosi is above 80, Maxine Waters is above 80. There are a whole lot of members who are above 80 who aren't getting the kind of pushback that Dick Durbin is getting. So that's why that's my argument that I'm okay separating it, but you will never convince me that the pushback that Dick Durbin is getting right now is just because of his age.
No. I'm saying I'm just trying to provide a wider context. The pushback now is based on his very reasonable vote to prevent a government shutdown. It's just a hook.
Right.
It's an excuse. Many progressive activists wanted the House vote, the shutdown. But everyone who's listening, and I beg you just to bear with me a moment. One of the skills that Trump and his allies have is making up, down, up, left, right. Right now, if you're unhappy with the way government is shrinking, with the services that may be cut, with your friend or neighbor who may have lost her job, or worried about your grandmother in a nursing home paid for with Medicaid may become your responsibility, right now, clearly that is on Trump and his administration. If there was a government shutdown, that would have changed the conversation. It would have maybe been used as an excuse for Musk and his dogeteers out there to use this as an excuse to just slash and burn without looking at the results. And it would have been blamed on the Democrats, conveniently used by Trump. So, again, if people don't know, let me explain. It takes more than a majority to do most things in the Senate. So the Republicans didn't have the leverage that they have in the House because they needed some Democratic votes to pass that temporary funding measure. One other thing, given the way that Trump just ignores what the law is and the legislation is anyway, the way he is turning off money and closing agencies at his will, ignoring Congress, the potential of that piece of legislation adding extra protection to any programs that Democrats hold deep and dear wouldn't have maybe worked.
Yep. So, Lynn, I hear your argument. I respect the argument. My pushback is simply this. At some point, and obviously this isn't the point for you, but at some point, Democrats have to draw a line in the sand and get their backs up and rally their base And if you look at the way the base responded to what Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, and others did, if you look at the way the base responded, they were clearly out of alignment with their base. So I hear your argument. But
I disagree.
Okay,
respectfully disagree.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Okay, the base, the Democratic family has bases, plural.
Plural. Agreed.
Some of the loudest complainers complained. And there's no demonstration of thousands of people on this government. Right now, we are at a perilous time in the history of our nation. Nothing at the moment seems to limit or slow down Trump. I know there are court cases pending, and some have temporarily curbed what Trump is doing. No comparison to what we're going through now. And the idea that I like, you can't sacrifice the good for the perfect. There's no perfect here. No one understands really what might work. And you have to pick hills to stand on, to fight over. And there are many issues out there that may be the line, maybe not. This is evolving. There has to be a lot of thought as to whether or not you go DEFCON 5 and shut down all government in order to make a statement in a context and an environment where all it would have done potentially is make things worse for Democrats.
But Lynn, it's not just, we'll continue when we come forward, but it's not just a statement. I think that that misses the point. It's not about just making a statement. It's about drawing a line in the sand and fighting and saying to your base, we will not support a budget measure that includes X, Y, and Z. We will not support a budget measure that cuts A, B, and C. We're not going to do that. And when your base sees you with a spine, I believe they will line up behind you. I hear your argument. I just fundamentally disagree. More with Lynn Sweet when we come forward on Tavis Smart.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
This is an ad by BetterHelp. Think about your mentors and idols, the people who inspire you the most. While it may look like they have all the answers, they don't. But they do know when to ask questions and seek the support they need. In a world that glorifies hyper-independence, it's easy to forget that we're all better with a support system. Therapy is a great way to find a consistent source of support in your life, so you can break free from the outdated belief that seeking help is a sign of weakness. BetterHelp has experienced therapists ready to help you with challenges ranging from anxiety and depression to relationships and stress. It's convenient, too. You can join a session with the click of a button, helping you fit therapy into your busy life. You can even send your therapist a message anytime something comes up. Build your support system with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/ABCRadio today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/ABCRadio.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well-trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your Senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
At Exquisite Family Mortuary, we know how overwhelming it can be planning a meaningful farewell for your loved one. Secure your peace of mind by calling Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. From traditional funeral services to memorials to direct cremation, pre-needs, and more. Call Charlotte White at Exquisite Family Mortuary for Southern hospitality in Southern California. That's Charlotte White at 323-577-5562. Exquisite Family Mortuary is located nearby in Inglewood, California. Exquisite Family Mortuary, where your loved one becomes our loved one. Freedom is an endless meeting, so let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Lynn Sweet. Okay, Lynn, we're not going to agree on that. Let me pivot and cover a couple other things before I lose you at the top of the hour here. So I mentioned earlier, and you heard me talking to Mayor Adams out of New York, that just months ago, literally, not too long ago, we were celebrating the fact that the 4 largest cities in this country all had black mayors. Karen Bass here in L.A., where I sit, Sylvester Turner in Houston, Brandon Johnson, of course, in Chicago, and Eric Adams in New York City. It is conceivable, given all the trouble that they're in, that none of these cities may have black mayors just a few months down the road. But specifically with Chicago, why is Brandon Johnson having such a hard time in Chicago?
Also, just want to point out that the mayor before Brandon Johnson was Lori Lightfoot, the second female, also black.
Right.
Second black, second female in the history of the city. So Brandon Johnson is in trouble because he doesn't have, he has not shown that he has the experience to navigate the most difficult situations, including with the Chicago Teachers Union. And again, the CTU is a powerful political organization within the city. He worked for them as an organizer. The CTU bankrolled his run, and I guess he's not doing what they expected from, and now it's weakening him. He also has just not made the relationships with the governor and the lawmakers in the state capitol to advance the city agenda, and the dealing with homelessness and the new arrivals and the migrant situation did not help, and he's seen as just floundering right now. Well-intentioned, perhaps, but floundering so much. He also had some unrealistic fiscal proposals in terms of borrowing, in terms of keeping, the city afloat. So it's a financial scheme that was seen as not substantive. So in terms of mastering the budget, mastering relationships, piloting the city through different crises, dealing with schools, police, crime, he just hasn't shown the wherewithal to do this. And it's a big, just like in New York, this is not for the weak. You have to really, these are like mini countries, lots of disparate interests, sprawling real estate to look through. So that's some of the reasons he's in trouble right now.
How would you describe, you sort of intimated this a moment ago, Lynn, how would you describe his relationship or lack thereof with the governor, Pritzker?
Not as good as it could be, or as warm as it, not warm like buddies going out,
right.
On a Saturday night to watch a game or something. But the governor has a supermajority in the state house and state senate. Most of the Democrats there answer to or deal with more with the governor. So then the mayor. And the mayor didn't quite, I think, understand that when he goes to Springfield and wants things, there are two thumbs on the scale already, the governors and the leaders who are aligned with him. Doesn't mean that they don't want to help Chicago, but they want to do it their way.
Yeah, no, it's a serious moment that we are in when you look, particularly in the era of Trump. You look at these major cities, and Trump is no fan of the mayors who run these cities. We all know that. Chicago has been a whipping post for Republicans for years about crime. You know that narrative well. So here you are in the era of Trump, and these 4 cities that have black mayors again. Somewhere down the road may not have any of them, and that's disturbing for me on a number of levels. I digress on that for now. Our remaining moments with Lynn Sweet when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
With
With Progressive, it's easy to reach customer service with our app, website, chat, or by phone. Because when getting help is hard, it's not help at all.
Little help. A little help over here.
Thank you for calling Bench Press Assistance.
What?
Due to excessive gym volume, all available spotters are currently lifting heavy weights off the chests of other bench pressers.
Seriously?
Please continue to hold, and we will remove the barbell from your chest in the order in which your cry for help was received.
Getting assistance should be easy. With Progressive, it is. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
Two major news stories I want to bring to your attention right quick, and I'll give Lynn Sweet, Chicago Times, Sun-Times, Washington Bureau Chief, the last word here. This just happened moments ago. Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, has instructed the Justice Department to drop the legal challenge to Georgia's election law. The lawsuit was challenging a sweeping election overhaul that Georgia Republican lawmakers passed in the wake of Donald Trump's 2020 election loss in the state. The lawsuit, filed in 2021 under President Joe Biden, alleged that Georgia law was intended to deny black voters equal access to the ballot. Bondi says today the Biden administration was pushing, quote, false claims of suppression, close quote. And so that Georgia election law is not going to be challenged, that the Attorney General has spoken and said we're dropping that case. It gets more and more bizarre by the day, no surprise there, but that case in Georgia has been dropped. Finally, and I'll let Lynn Sweet respond to this because I do want to hear her take on this. She mentioned Donald Trump earlier in this conversation. You probably saw this story, and if you didn't, you need to be aware of it. I predicted this months ago on this program. Donald Trump told NBC News yesterday he is not ruling out seeking a third term in the White House, and that there are methods for doing so. Those are his words. There are methods for doing so. I'm not joking, Trump said when asked to clarify. I'm not. It's far too early to think about it. But Steve Bannon, Trump's ally, said to News Nation in an interview that he believes Trump will, quote, run and win again in 2028. Now, we know this is violative of the Constitution, Lynn, but it hasn't stopped this conversation from growing about Trump running for a third term. What say you?
Take him seriously.
Yeah.
Take him seriously on everything. There's no jokes. This is This is beyond testing the waters. There's no reason for him not to try. I just urge everybody, this is not a joke. This is not a test. The same with Greenland.
Yeah.
This is sending the vice president to Greenland at a military base to talk about taking over possession of that land. This is to be taken seriously. And that you can't say enough that we're in unprecedented waters now. What this could also do, by the way, is just freeze out any competition coming up early, and we'll see how that maybe intimidates Republicans who usually would start going to Iowa about now to start building organizations, speaking to groups, and building organizations.
Yep. I take your point, Lynn. That's a brilliant point. This may be a way just to delay, as long as he can, his lame duck status. So there's that. But he said it. I'm not joking. And you hear Lynn and I agree. He's not joking. Steve Bannon went on to say in that News Nation interview that he believes that they'll have a couple of alternatives in determining how Trump could seek a third term despite the 2-term max for holding the presidency. So this is not a joke, as Lynn Sweet said, and we will continue to follow this as necessary. Lynn, thank you for your time. Good to have you on the program. All the best to you.
Many thanks for having me on.
My great honor. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 Things You Should Know with BIN News. President Trump commuted the sentence of Black Aussie Media founder Carlos Watson, who was convicted of defrauding investors. Watson was set to serve nearly a decade in prison. The White House has declined to comment. Protesters held over 200 demonstrations at Tesla dealerships accusing CEO Elon Musk of funding political actions they see as threats to democracy.